Hiya and welcome back to my channel. My name's Laura Beth, I'm a wedding planner, and today I'm going to talk you through 21 questions to ask your wedding venue when you're going through the process of trying to decide on where you want to hold your wedding. So let's get into it. I'm really conscious at the moment that we're in lockdown and some brides and couples are going to be watching it at the moment when it's impossible to go out and have a look at venues. And in the future people are going to be coming back to this when it is possible to go out to venues. So I've tailored these questions as things you can ask your venue now via email or on the phone to narrow your options down, so when you're out of lockdown you can have a perfect list ready to go and visit all those venues. And also, if you're at a point where you can go out and see venues, then these questions are perfect for sending an email or asking whilst you're on a show round to ensure that you're getting everything that you expect and pay for. So number one, first things first, is the venue you're looking at exclusive use or is it a shared hire? Will there be other events and weddings running on the same day? If it's exclusive use, what time does it start? What time do you get the exclusive use and what time does it finish? If it's a shared venue, what sort of services are you sharing with other couples or other events that are running? Do you have a shared bar, shared toilet, a shared outdoor space? It's always worth knowing these questions so on the wedding day you're not really surprised to see someone else walking around. Number two, sounds like a really obvious one, but how many people does that venue hold? If it's way smaller than what your guest list is or way bigger, you're either going to be squashed in or you're going to have too much space. So you need to know these things. And also, what numbers does your reception area hold, your ceremony area, and also how many extra evening guests you can have. All worth knowing, making sure all your activities on the day can fit everyone who's invited and no one's going to be left out on the wedding day. Question number three is an important one to know if you want to have guests staying on site with you. Always ask the venue what on-site accommodation they have, whether you're required to book it all, whether guests book directly or they book through you and you pay, and also are you going to be charged if some rooms aren't used on the wedding night. So they're all really important things to make sure that you don't have some hidden costs that you didn't expect. And it's always worth asking, can we stay the night before and the night after as well? You can make a really nice weekend of it then, get properly settled in, you're there to get ready on the morning, and you can just fall asleep at the end of the night. Number four, can you get ready on site? This is really great if you want to cut down on time in the morning, transport, all these little things. If you can get ready on site, again, if you're staying the night before, that's really simple. If you're not staying the night before, what time can you get in to start getting ready? And it's always worth talking to your hair and makeup artist about this as well, because they will give you timings on when they need to start, just to ensure that everyone gets ready on time. If you can't go and see this room, get photos of it. Do they have nice big windows or good lighting for hair and makeup? Is there enough room in there for all of your attendants plus the people who are getting you ready as well? Is there a big mirror? Do they serve tea and coffees? Do they have any little bits you can, have to eat whilst you're getting ready, or do you need to bring those in with you? All really important questions to ensure you have a nice relaxed morning getting ready. Number five is a really important one to ask the venue. Which rooms within the venue are licensed for civil ceremonies? In the UK, venues don't tend to license the whole building, they license rooms, and you can't actually get married outside unless they have a permanent structure which is legalised. So it's always worth asking what areas they've got. If you're dreaming of having your wedding outside but they don't have anything legalised, then that is obviously going to change your plans if you want to go with that venue. Always ask how many people can fit in these rooms, and again, if you're getting married outside, just make sure that when you are looking at your wet weather plan, that the numbers will still fit in that room that you want. So have a chat with them, find out all the details, and then you know how to plan going forward. Number six is all about the bar. Do they have an in-house bar or will you need to hire an external company? If it's an external company, there's obviously a whole different set of questions you'll ask for them, and we'll go into that another time. If it's an in-house bar, always ask what their prices are and what they serve. Guaranteed you will be asked by some of your guests what alcohol, what lagers are served behind the bar, so it's great if you've got that information and you're prepared with it. It's also worth asking, do they have drinks packages they provide for on the wedding day? Can you bring in your own drinks? And also, is there any fees to bringing in your own drinks? Is there a corkage charge? Which is the standard way most venues will do it. There's also things when they don't do corkage, they have like a wastage or disposal charge, and this will mean a small fee that they have for taking away your empties. You can often get rid of this charge by doing it yourself, but it's always worth asking anyway. Number seven, again, this is a really important one. when does everything have to finish at the end of the night? If you're planning an all-night party but their licence only runs till 11 o'clock or midnight, then that is going to drastically change how you plan your evening. Most venues do have a 12 o'clock cut-off, and it'll be live and loud music through till about 11 o'clock, and then things can kind of quieten down and calm down until 12. Some venues will let you party all night, so ask this question, know where you stand, and then you can plan out a good party in the evening. Number 8, always check access, especially if you know you've got guests who are less able or in wheelchairs. What steps are there? How wide are the doors? Where are the toilets? Is there disabled access toilets? If they're going to be staying on site, do they have disabled suitable bedrooms? All these things are really important to know. Get pictures and things if you need it, and then you can send to family members or friends that might require these facilities. Ask the question and then you know. Number 9, ask the venue how a normal wedding with them would usually run. Where does the ceremony happen? Where do you go for the drinks? How are things set up? Where would the chairs be? Where would the tables be? Where would your aisle be? All really important things, and this could solve you loads of problems. If you're worrying about how the day pans out, the venue will usually be able to tell you how long things take and how they move from one thing to another seamlessly without you even having to worry. At this point, it's also really important that you ask about their wet weather plans. Again, they'll know what they do for this, and they can tell you where guests will go, how things will move. If you're getting married in the same room as your banquet, how will this changeover happen? And they'll be able to advise you on venue-specific sort of areas. Number 10, what items are included in your contract that you're already paying for and may already be there? Tables, chairs, linens, the bar, any little bits. They may even have bits of decor that they've got stored away at the venue. Ask what they have and ask to see it. If you've got your heart set on certain chairs and they tell you chairs are included, but you don't like the chairs, feel free to go and hire elsewhere. Yes, this will be a cost, and venues won't usually discount if you're just not using their things, but if you don't like it and you've got your heart set on something else, go and hire it. That's no issue at all. When checking toilet facilities, this is an important one. No one wants to be queuing for ages. So what I recommend is there's one toilet cubicle for every 40 to 50 guests. This just ensures that you've got enough throughout the day. If there isn't, there's loads of companies you can hire toilets from. Really glamorous subject to talk about. But you don't have to have portaloos. They come in lovely trailers nowadays, posh loos, with flowers and pictures and everything on the wall. So if you need to hire, there's plenty of options available to you out there. Number 11 is all about catering. Do they do it in-house or do you hire an external company to do this? If you're doing internal, they'll usually have set menus and prices and things like that. Ask to see them, ask what they do, ask about any flexibility. Do they do cheaper versions of things? Do they do more expensive versions? What have you got to play with? Ask all the questions. If you're using an external company, again, there's loads of questions you would ask an external caterer, which we will not go into today. But when it comes to being venue related, if you're having an external company come in, check the kitchen facilities that the venue has. What equipment do they have? What power do they have? And is there any charge to using those facilities? You can then pass this all on to your caterer to get a really accurate quote even, because they'll need to bring in certain things for cooking, and if they're already there, you don't want to be paying to bring those things in as well. Other questions you might want to ask your venue is, would you be required to get any sort of pat testing certificates, insurance, public liability, all those things off your catering company? If you know in the beginning, you can ask the company, have it all ready to send to the venue, rather than in the last minute realising it's not done and chasing suppliers and caterers for this information. Number 12, do they have a preferred list of suppliers, and if you book them, will they send you this list? This list can be so useful because usually it's suppliers that have worked at the venue before and they know the ins and outs of the venue, what's allowed, what's not, what the space looks like and how much room they've got to play with. It's always worth checking though, if you're being given a list of suppliers, that you can ask if you can bring in separate suppliers that are not on the list. If you fall in love with someone else, can you still use them? Most venues will say yes, some will only allow their preferred suppliers though, so it's always worth checking. And this will also apply to the catering as well, and more often than not, catering is the big one that you need to ask this for. Number 13, when can I set up? Can I come in before the wedding day and drop things off and do a bit of decor? If your venue doesn't have more than one event a week, which some don't, you may have 3 or 4 days before to be able to come in. Other venues, it won't be that, and you'll actually be arriving on the morning with your decor. So it's really important you know this. And if you're dropping it off on the morning, do they have people that are going to set up for you? Again, just keep asking the questions. The more you know, the more you can plan for, the more organised you will feel. Always check whether there is any extra cost to coming in early to set up, and also where can you store all your stuff. So if you've got boxes of decor, things that are going to come out later in the day, do you need to put them in storage on the day, and where can you put them? Because the last thing you want is boxes everywhere, trying to hide them under tables, there not being enough room. Make sure you know, and most venues will have a dedicated storage area that you can actually use. Number 14, are there any restrictions on how you can put up decor in the building that may cause damage to it? Some venues are really rustic and will allow you to screw and drill into the walls and do whatever you want. Some more kind of country manor sort of houses will not allow you to put anything on the walls, even blue tack or tape. So always ask the question. You don't want to be landed with a fine after the wedding because someone stuck a pin in the wall. I've had this happen before. It's not good. Make sure you know you can plan your decor accordingly so you don't have any problems with this. Number 15, parking. Again, something that can be easily missed, but it's really important. Where are guests going to park on the day? If you're going for a remote venue, then parking is not likely going to be an issue. Remember, you need a space for probably 2 guests to 1 car, so always make sure they've got that much. If you're going for more an inner city venue or a venue in a town, then parking might be more restricted. So are there any fees? Where does everyone park? How far is it from the venue? Can they leave their cars there overnight? They're all good things to know. You can then put this information in invitations so guests know to prepare themselves with umbrellas and flat shoes if they're going to be walking far, because nobody wants to walk miles in heels. Number 16, similar to above, where will suppliers be loading and unloading from? Is this far from the venue? Are there steps? Are there tight corners? Is it going to take them long to get from the car to the setup area? Again, it's all little things, but if it's going to take a while, then suppliers may end up building in extra costs for you to allow for this time. If you know in advance, you can plan for it. If you don't know until the day, then you may have some extra costs that you didn't expect. So it's always best to be prepared for things like this. Number 17, what help do you have on the wedding day from the venue? Some venues will have a full team, especially if they're catering and running the bar. They'll have people there, they'll look after clearing everything, they'll look after resetting, they will serve your meal and take it away from you. So it's worth asking. If they don't have staff and you've got an external bar company and an external catering company, usually those companies will only look after things that they're involved in, which may end up that if you're serving your own drinks for part of the day, that there's no one else to help serve or clear away for you. And if you're kind of having your ceremony in the same room and your reception in the same room, there isn't anyone available to turn that room around and reset it for your food. So ask the questions. If there isn't, you can hire in your own people to come and help. I know this is a service that I offer to brides and couples that need the help, or you can round up bridesmaids and ushers and people and get them involved on the wedding day if it's not too much set up. But bear in mind, you're going to be having photos, you're going to be catching up with everyone. Don't ask too much of your bridal party on the wedding day when it comes to things like this, if you can help it. Okay, so we are nearly there. Number 18, does your venue have a coordinator? Coordinators based at venues are really helpful. They know the venue. You can ask them any questions venue related and they will be able to help you. Sometimes that same person will then be there and available on your wedding day. Sometimes they're just on the coordination kind of organising side, but there isn't anyone there on the wedding venue, on the wedding day even. Or you could have someone totally different take over on the wedding day. None are a problem if you know and you can plan for it. If you haven't got anyone there on the wedding day, obviously people like me, you can hire these services in to help you. If someone's there on the wedding day and they're different, you can make sure that they know all the information in advance, or maybe even ask to meet up with them once. Just know the facts, know what's involved, and then you can compare different venues, what they offer with what this venue offers. so to speak. Another thing to consider, if your venue is not exclusive and there are multiple events going on, the team that you have on that day, are they also servicing all the other events going on? Is your coordinator going to be split between 3, 4, 5 events, for example, which means they won't be available all the time for you should you have a problem? And this may be when you consider having and hiring your own private coordinator, so you know they are fully dedicated to you on the wedding day. Number 19, this is a question that most people don't really ask, but I think it's really important. What is the lighting like outside at night? If you are planning on having activities there and there's no light out there, it's going to get dark at some point and you're going to be stood in pitch black. So it's really important you've got the outdoor lighting, and if it's not, then you can hire it in. It means when people are going outside, especially in the summer months when it can be a bit warmer, or maybe if you've got catering outside, or a photo booth maybe, that there's some lighting out there so people want to go outside rather than just standing in the dark. Number 20, again, it's a little thing, finding out where plug sockets and power supplies are in the building. Bands will need to know this, catering will need to know this, maybe decor companies and photo booths, that sort of thing, that all need power. And it helps you plan out the day so you know that the band is going to set up there because there's loads of power sockets, there's a power socket over there for the photo booth to set up. And it makes sure that when you're planning out your table plan and your kind of layout for the day, you know everyone is fully catered for and you're not going to end up blowing the power system because everyone is after one plug. And finally, number 21, here are 4 items that I suggest you ask your venue whether you can or cannot do them. Confetti. Can you do it? And if you can, where can you do it? Lots of venues will have restrictions on this. Usually it's biodegradable or real. Some venues will not allow it because it gets very messy. Same as if you wanted to use bubbles instead of confetti, it can get really slippy on the floor. So again, some venues may not allow it that. Next one, sparklers. Can be a bit of a fire hazard. They make a beautiful photo. I've always allowed them in the past with people that I've worked with, but just make sure you've got buckets of water and buckets of sand, but check with your venue for what they allow. So I'm going to mention candles as well. I have some really horrible horror stories about this. Tables going up in flames during speeches because someone's dropped a favour or a napkin on a candle. I even had a bride, beautiful staircase all adorned with candles down it. As she walked down, her dress kind of knocked one of the candles and the candle rolled across the back of her dress. Luckily she did not go up in flames, but I've never held my breath so much and I never want to go through that ever again. So candles, rules, if you're allowed them, don't put anything at kind of foot level, kicking level, anything kind of below waist height. It's just dangerous, it's scary, you don't need that added stress on the day. If they're on tables, you can do real candles because they look lovely, but make sure they're in vases that cover the flame rather than kind of tea light holders that are exposed, really easy to drop things on them. I'd say candelabras, stuff like that are absolutely fine. They're at height, they're out the way. Also candles kind of on mantelpieces, windowsills, stuff like that. As long as they're out the way and no one's going to brush past them, knock them off or catch their hair on them, then they are safe and go for it. If you just want to be totally safe, go for battery, and if your venue doesn't allow it, go for battery. Last thing I'll mention is fireworks. Check with your venue whether they do or don't allow them. Some will, some won't. If you're in a rural location with farms, I suggest going for kind of low level fireworks, low noise fireworks. It is a thing, believe it or not. I was confused when I first saw it, but it does do it. So go for that because it's just nicer to the environment and the animals that could get scared. And if your heart's set on a firework display, you just need to check with your venue that they allow it. So again, you don't book something and then you're not allowed it later on. So that is it. We've made it 21 questions to ask your venue. I really hope you found that helpful, and whether you're in lockdown or not, that you can still push on with making decisions, making final cuts and finding a perfect venue for you. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell to make sure you're notified of any of my future videos, and please share it with all your friends. I'd love to hear what you want me to post in future videos, so please drop a comment below and let me know how you're getting on with your wedding planning and what you'd like to hear from me. Thanks for watching today, and I shall see you in a future video. Bye!